Hello! Today we're going to do a gentle, beginner-friendly yoga flow. So what you'll need is at least 2 blocks. I'm going to have 3 because it's sort of just the number that I have. And maybe a bolster or some pillows. I like to use my meditation pillow for multiple reasons. And that should be about it. Maybe a strap if you have a strap handy. I do not have a strap handy, so I will cue the strap when it could potentially be necessary, but I will not be using a strap myself. All right, let's begin in a comfortable seated position. I like to elevate the hips. This creates more space for those knees to be more comfortable, and it allows for a straighter spine because we're not so busy trying to keep the knees comfortable or the hips comfortable. So sit up on a block, a bolster, or maybe you've got that meditation pillow. Make sure you're nice and comfortable. You can take a Sukhasana pose or an easy pose, or maybe you would like to sit on your knees with the block between your thighs. Once you've found that shape that you are most comfortable in, I want to make sure that the spine is nice and long, as long as you can get it here. So crown of the head is going to reach up towards the sky, while the tailbones sink down in towards whatever it is that is helping to support you. The shoulders aren't stressed or tense up towards the neck. Instead, they're nice and long down the back. With the spine in this nice long space, the breath can be easy, moving in and out of the nostrils. And if you're comfortable, you can close down the eyes and start to take your awareness inside. Let each inhale fill up the lungs all the way up to the heart space. And every exhale, let something go, let something release. Maybe it's tension. Maybe it's pain. It could be your mind space, your mental space. Or maybe it's an emotion that needs let go of. Let that exhale carry it away from you. And as you inhale, let new prana, that life force energy, fill you up. Let's start to lengthen our inhale and our exhale. Bringing that inhale a little further past the heart space and up into the crown of the head. And as you exhale, imagine there's this rush of light or this wind that moves from the crown of the head all the way down the spine, out through the pelvic floor. As you inhale, you pull that energy all the way back up. And as you exhale, you let it move down you, all the way through the spine, down through the pelvic floor, deep down into Mother Earth. As I do this, I like to match pelvic floor squeezes with the breath. So as I inhale, I allow my belly to fill up, but I squeeze that pelvic floor up to draw that energy further and further up the spine. And as I exhale and I imagine that energy moving down from the crown of the head, back through the back of the neck, down the spine, all the way out the pelvic floor, I release that hold. And in this way, we start to bring into union that breath, body, and also the mind. It's really important to take note that you're not holding on to any clenching elsewhere, but in maybe the pelvic floor if you choose to go that route. So we're not scrunching the eyebrows together, and we're not clenching the jaw. We're not clenching the hands. We're really truly only exerting the energy that's necessary through the movement of the energy of the breath. The inhale, the lungs are working. The exhale, we let everything go, even that hold of the pelvic floor if we've chosen to do so. Continue to work with this a few more moments, seeing how much focus you can exert into watching the breath move up and down the spine. Observing any sensations that may arise with it, and letting go of any expectations you may have already built up around the practice. On your next inhale, if you'd like to open the eyes now, you're welcome to do so. Make sure you just flutter them open and let that light flood in. And then place the hands on top of the shoulder blades. On top of the shoulders, not the shoulder blades. We're going to exhale, reach that left arm back and reach the right arm forward. Inhale back through center. Exhale, reach that right elbow back, left elbow forward. Inhale, center. Exhale to the left. Inhale, center. Exhale to the right. Inhale, center. We're going to go a little faster. We're going to go exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Really let that breath be audible. Let it match up with what the body is doing. It may be a little tricky at first to figure out this breath and body movement. And that's okay. Keep working with it. Five, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it back through center. Drop those hands down. And just observe the sensations that arise. Often it brings a little bit of a fluttering of the heart, maybe a lightness in the head. And that's okay. That's just us pumping that energy up a little bit more. Now we're going to take the hands. Actually, let's switch the cross of the legs so that we can keep some balance in the body. Take the hands and place them in the front of the legs, kind of holding on to one of those legs. Maybe for me, it's that left shin, left foot. And now we're going to link the breath again. Inhale, lift the heart, lift the head, squeeze those shoulder blades tightly back behind you. Exhale, round all of that out. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. And we're going to pick this up. It's going to be inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Again, that breath will be audible. Pick it up a little bit more. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it back through center. And so that reminds me of those old water pumps back in the day where you would take the handle and you'd start pumping it up and down. Essentially, that's what we're doing with our energy when we do this. So again, you might feel a little lightheaded. That's okay. You may feel a little elevated in the heart. Go ahead and just sit with whatever sensation has arose. Give yourself 3 full cycles of breath to integrate or process this through. One more. Beautiful. Let's inhale, arms overhead. Clasp those hands over your head Keep the pointer finger out, but cross the thumbs. Take a big inhale to reach those arms up and out of the shoulders, and exhale just very gently over to the right. As you do so, what's going to happen is that left hip is going to want to come up. So I want you to push back down through that left hip and feel the length all the way from the top of that hip up through the left fingertip. Inhale back through center. Point those fingers straight in front of you and really round or protract those shoulder blades. Almost like you're going to tuck your heart in towards the spine a little deeper, like you're protecting it in this little cage. Inhale, reach it back up, squeeze the shoulder blades, and exhale, reach over to the left now. Remember that right hip probably tried to come up, so push it back down to the mat. We're not going very far here, but we do want to feel length all the way from the hip out through the right finger. Inhale back through center. And one more time, fingertips towards the front of you. Round through the shoulders. This time, tuck the chin to the chest. Inhale, pull it in. And exhale, push it back out. Round and tuck the chin to the chest. Inhale, pull it in. Last time, exhale, push it out and around through the shoulders, tuck the chin to the chest. Inhale, pull it in, hands in prayer mudra. Go ahead and slight bow to those fingertips. Hold hands down into the lap. And let's go ahead and move on to our hands and knees. So you're going to want to remove the meditation pillow if you have one underneath you, or the block, whatever it is that you were working with. And before we actually come down to our hands, let's roll those wrists out to give them a little bit of warmth here, so that we're not just automatically going into our wrists. Switch the direction of the roll. And then one of my all-time favorites, reach those hands out, fists clenched tight. And now start to flick the fingertips like they're beamer lights or something. And you're beaming your light brightly in front of you. And the faster you flick, the more warmth that gets created in the wrist and the forearm, the more strength that is needed. And keep going. I know that it's going to feel, you're going to feel. You'll have all sorts of feels at some point in time during this little exercise for the wrist, but keep going as fast as you possibly can. The faster you flick, the brighter your light. The brighter your light, the warmer your wrists. The warmer your wrists, the warmer your forearms. Nursery rhyme time. 5, 4, 3. Ooh, push through it. 2 and 1. Shake those out. Beautiful. Now let's come down to our hands. Knees are directly below the hips, and the shoulders are directly above the wrists. Nice neutral spine. So instead of automatically poking that booty up into the air, I want you to drop that tailbone down towards the heels. Really hug in through the low belly. Squeeze that pelvic floor and draw the energy up through the crown of the head. Now from here, let's go ahead and start our cat-cows. Inhale, drop the belly, drop the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades, lift that tailbone up. Really sway through that back. Exhale, round everything out. Push down into the earth. Tuck the chin to the chest. Drop that tailbone down towards the back of the knees. Inhale, reverse, lift everything back up. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. And last time, exhale, round. Inhale, neutral spine. Place that left hand directly underneath your nose and inhale the right arm up towards the sky. Really reach with that right hand. Gaze up at the fingertips if the neck permits. If not, gaze forward. And then exhale, dive that right arm underneath the left armpit and go ahead and come down to that right shoulder. Right side of the head lands on the mat, and that left hand can stay directly in front of your nose. out in front of you towards the top of the mat, up to the sky for a little deeper twist, or maybe even all the way around the spine so that you can reach for the inside of that right thigh. Let your breath take you a little deeper into the pool of gravity here. Heart drips down towards the inner arm of the right hand. And then on your next inhale, if the arm is wrapped behind the spine, we're going to bring that left hand up. And then exhale, that left hand is going to drop back down in front of our face. And we're going to draw that right arm back up to the sky. And exhale, right hand will come down directly in front of the nose. Inhale, left arm up to the sky. And exhale, that right arm comes underneath the right shoulder. Left elbow, left shoulder, left elbow, left side of the face lands on the mat. Keep the right hand either directly in front of the nose, reach it out in front of you, lift it up to the sky, or maybe you wrap it around the spine and reach for the inner left thigh. Let every exhale sink you deeper and deeper into whatever it is that you might be experiencing. And on your next inhale, reach that right arm back up to the sky. Right hand then drops down in front of the face. We're going to inhale, lift left arm back up towards the sky. Reach, reach, reach. And exhale, left hand comes down. Start to walk your hands forward, but keep your hips over your knees. As you walk your hands forward, you'll come to this space where you can't really go forward anymore. From this point, I want you to drop the heart down towards the mat and then lift it back up. So not quite going into puppy pose, but working into a little bit of strength. We're not trying to get super fiery here, but we want a little bit of strength added to our practice. Drop the chest down and lift it back up. 2 more. Drop it down. Inhale it back up. And last time, drop it down and let yourself land into your puppy pose. So puppy pose, the hips stay over the knees, hips are high. The heart tries to make its way down to the mat, but it might not ever, and that's okay. The chin might touch the mat. And if that doesn't touch the mat, maybe the forehead comes down. There's a lot of length that is asked for when we have the chin down on the ground, because it's not only asking for the length in the front side body through the heart space, but also through the throat. And often our throats are extremely tight. I think this is due to a lot of our inability to access our throat chakras, or an imbalance in the throat chakra. And so this is so good to start to work with that Vishuddhi space, that throat chakra space. On your next inhale, I want you to slowly walk those fingertips back and drop the hips down towards the heels for Balasana, child's pose. Forehead now comes down to the mat. Feel the breath in the lungs as it pushes against the thighs. And let's bring those hands back behind us now with the palms facing up. So same pose, Balasana, child's pose. But now those hands are back behind us. Palms face up. Breath is still deep. Every inhale, fill up the lungs so much that you can feel the back space expanding. On your next inhale, bring those hands by either side of the head. And now what we're going to do is we're going to work into the back of the neck. So we're going to lift those hips up and roll to the top of the head. We're going to take it a little bit further as the chin tucks deeply into the chest, and we start to roll towards the back side of the head. Bring it back down, hips land, forehead to the mat. Inhale, lift the hips, roll to the top of the head, and then slightly towards the back side of the head. One more time. Drop those hips down, forehead to the mat. Inhale, lift the hips up. Roll to the top and then slightly to the back of the head. Bring the hips down and roll all the way up. Go ahead and shake out the shoulders a little. Get a little bit of movement in the upper body. Roll the head, the chin, the neck. And now in whatever way works for you, we're going to step that right leg towards the top of the mat for Anjaneyasana, our low lunge. You may want to fold up the mat for the back of that knee because the back knee will be on the mat, and sometimes just the mat itself is not enough if the knee is sensitive. So right foot here to the top of the mat, back knee down. Here you may want to grab for your blocks. You can use one block inside that right foot, or you can take 2 blocks and frame out the foot. It's really going to depend on what feels most comfortable for you. There's 3 levels to blocks. There's the highest level, a medium level, and then there's the lowest level. So adjust for what feels best in your hip flexors in this moment. And day to day, it's going to change. Our practice changes and shifts and fluctuates constantly. So whatever feels right for you here today, and maybe no blocks feel right, and so you just want your hands all the way down to the mat. You do you, boo. This is a choose your adventure kind of yoga. I'm not going to dictate what your body is feeling today. You are. So listen to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Take breaks when you need it. Go further if you need it. We're going to move between Anjaneyasana and Ardha Hanumanasana, which is the half splits shape. So again, with the blocks, if you have just 1 block or you have 2 blocks, you'll use the blocks as though they are an extension of your hands. So no need to do anything different other than acting as though those blocks are the extension of your hand. We're going to shift those hips back over the back knee as we extend through the right leg. Toes go up towards the sky. If you're not using blocks, the hands are on the ground. The chest reaches forward, whether you're on blocks or not. Toes are active, so that foot is nice and active. It's not a passive foot. This is a very active foot to get length from heel all the way up to that bottom glute. Take 2 more inhale breaths. And as you exhale, push it back into Anjaneyasana. Again, if you're working with those blocks, you just keep those blocks as an extension of your hand. Exhale it back. Ardha Hanumanasana, half split. Inhale forward. Getting slight movement and heat in the hip flexors. Breathe it back forward. Breathe it back. Forward. One more time. Back. When we do these kinds of movements, go ahead and bring this back into your lunge. And now we're going to move it into lizard lunge. And we'll continue that thought. So lizard lunge, we want to walk the foot a little bit closer to the edge of the mat. Both hands now come inside that foot if they weren't already. And we have a much wider base here now. So that right knee is closer to the edge of the mat. The left foot is still where it was. So it's straight back behind us, but now that right leg is off to our side. And here you can either stay on your block, whichever height works best for you. You can stay down on the mat, or you can take it even deeper, down to the forearms if you would like. And what I was going to say about the movements of back and forth and getting into the joints like that is we start to ask the body to produce the fluid that lubricates our joints, which keeps everything nice and wet and slippery. But not like super slippery, just slippery enough so that everything operates well, very lubricated, right? Sink a little bit deeper on your exhale. Get a little longer on your inhale. And next inhale, plant those hands wherever they're at. If they're already planted, yay. If not, we've got to plant them. Lift up out of this shape and start to walk that right foot back to the center line. Frame out the right foot, tuck the back toe, and lift that back knee up for just a moment as you push that heel back. Drop the back knee, bend into that back knee, and step the right foot back to meet the left. And we'll go ahead and take a seat onto our heels. Take a couple of breaths here. Just check in with the body. How does the right side feel compared to the left side? Not operating from a place of judgment, but equanimity. Just noting and observing, like, this is how I'm feeling. I've worked with the right side a little bit more now. So it might feel open, more spacious, more noticeable than the left. Nothing good, nothing bad, just is what it is. All right, and now let's bring that left leg up to the top of the mat. Left foot stamps down, and we move into our low lunge. Remember, you have all of those options with the block. We're just going to settle in here to begin with. Feel the hip flexor. Note where you're at here with it. Let the exhale deepen wherever you've landed. Let the inhale lift the heart just a little bit more. Instead of slouching into this shape, just kind of landing here, we want to make sure that we're slightly more active than passive. Let's move back and forth between our half split and our lunge. So exhale, start to push those hips back, straighten through that left leg. Toes up towards the sky. Now, remember, that left foot is very active, so it's not this passive foot as we are lengthening through that left leg. Instead, we want the foot to be a part of this. So we're keeping it nice and active here. One more inhale. And as you exhale, back into low lunge. And inhale, half split. Exhale, bring it back. Inhale, half split. Exhale, low lunge. And hold here as we move into our lizard lunge. Both hands inside that left knee. Walk that left foot off to the side of the mat a bit more. And remember, choose your own adventure. So you need those blocks, please use the blocks. If not, you can go ahead and take this to your threshold. Maybe that means that you come down to the forearms. Maybe it doesn't. Keep the breath deep and controlled, focused, and intentional. Go ahead and bring yourself back up onto those hands if you haven't already. Sink a little bit deeper. And now start to walk that left foot back to the center line. We're going to push back into that back knee so that the right knee starts to bend and take all the weight as the left knee comes back to meet the right. Sink down onto those hips. Just give yourself a very few short moments to integrate and process the movement in the hips, the way that they're feeling. Did you need more? Did you need less? These are always really good questions to ask ourselves so that we're becoming more acquainted and more intimate with our own body, which often, I know it seems super odd to think about, but more often than not, we're moving through our day without intimacy towards our own body, without a knowing, a deep knowing is what I mean by intimacy, of how our body is operating, how our body is responding, what our body is even doing. And it's such a great, beautiful place to step into once you start to become more deeply aware of your own body and its way and mode of operation, its way of reacting, its way of holding on to imbalances. All right, let's go ahead and come into our down dog. So hands on the mat, tuck those toes, shift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. We're going to lift those hips high to the sky. At the same time, pull down on those heels. Let the heart move towards the top of the head. Let the head sink down towards the mat. Keep a nice activation in your arms. So instead of locking out your shoulders or your elbows, I want you to keep a little bounce here. Squeeze the muscle to the bone. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, start to walk those hands back towards the feet. Once you reach your feet, I want you to go ahead and generously bend into your knees, grab your elbows, and sway side to side. Slowly, you might start to work your hips up towards the sky until your knees straighten out. But the moment that your belly and thigh lose contact with one another, you've went a little too far. So rebend those knees, reconnect the belly and the thigh, and then find that sway again. On your next inhale, let yourself find stillness. And see if you can't let your head get a little bit heavier towards the mat. Almost like if you could disconnect little screws back in the back of the neck or all around the neck. The head is so heavy it would just plop down onto the ground. You can keep a hold of the elbows or let the hands fall down. On your next inhale, halfway lift, fingertips to the shins. We're going to lift up the torso. Crown of the head reaches forward, tailbone reaches back. The gaze is down at the mat. Exhale, fold. We're going to do this a couple of times, moving between halfway lift and forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Last time, halfway lift. And now I want you to glide your hands, palms face up, underneath each foot so that the toes come to the wrist crease. Elbows are nice and straight. Knees may still need to be bent, and that's absolutely fine. I want you to honor your body and know exactly where you're at. On your next exhale, bend those elbows out so that you can start to pull the torso down towards the shins. Inhale, halfway lift, straighten those elbows. And one more time, exhale, pull the torso down, bend the elbows out. Inhale, lift. Give your hands just a little bit of a massage here with the feet, and then release them down. Walk it back out to your down dog. Two breaths here in down dog. And then drop it down to the knees. And back to child's pose. For a moment, I want you to ask your body what sensations it wants to feel the most.
And instantly you're going to be given an answer because you're going to feel it in the body. Maybe it's the lengthening of one hamstring over the other. Maybe it's in the shoulders or the wrists. And as the body speaks to you, speak back to it with breath. And so what I mean by that is that you feel the sensation where it's at, and then send your breath to that space. Let the inhale fill up the space. And as you exhale, you can imagine like whatever sensation, negative or good, can get washed away through that exhale. On your next inhale, bring it back to the hands and knees. Tuck those toes, shift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Next inhale, walk the feet up to the mat now, but with a slight nuance of making these the slowest steps you've ever taken in your entire life. So they're very deliberate. And you feel each step in its entirety. And so from heel to the arch, all the way to the ball of the foot, up to the toes, you can feel it land. Simultaneously, you feel the opposite foot lift up off of the mat. We're in no hurry here, unless you are. And once you've reached the top of the mat, big toes to touch, I want you to take a big inhale and swoop those arms overhead as you stand and rise up. Exhale, hands through the heart. Beautiful. Make sure you have a block close, just in the case that you want it or need it. We're going to start with wide leg forward fold. So feet are about 3 feet width distance here. Toes slightly pigeon-toed in, heels slightly out. And as we start to lean forward and we come into the forward fold, most of the weight is going to shift into the toes and out of the heels, almost like we're going to topple over. All right, so let's begin. We're going to find these hip creases here. And then we're going to fold from that point. So push the booty back so you can start to drop the torso down to the mat. Now this may be where a block can come in handy. Maybe the hands start to land on a block. Maybe you take that block a little lower because you realize you need a little more space here. Or even lower. Or maybe you're completely fine bringing the hands down to the mat. So spine is still fairly flat here. We're really just pushing back through the hips, but at the same time leaning forward into those toes so that we're getting length. We're getting like the most bang for our buck here. Length from the heel all the way up to that bottom glute. Okay, if we want, we can maybe take this a little bit deeper and we start to drop it down to the forearms. Not compromising in the way that the weight has shifted into the toes. We're not leaning back into the heels to get those forearms down onto the mat. Maybe you can place the top of the head on the mat. Wherever you're at, let your breath be fluid. Let your mind be at ease. We're not allowing that ego to kick in and say that we have to be somewhere we don't have to be. Because we are exactly where we should be in our practice today. On your next inhale, wherever you're at, we're going to push into those hands, lift the head, halfway lift. Plant the right hand underneath the nose, whether that's on the block or the floor, and inhale, left arm up to the sky for a twist. Exhale, left hand down. Inhale, the right arm up. Exhale, right hand down. And then go ahead, shake the head. Yes, no, maybe so. Get strong in the legs. Maybe even take a bend to those knees, hands to the hip, and rise up from here. Star pose. So now the arms go out and up, and the toes point out. Feel bright. Fill up the lungs. Reach a little higher. And then grab a hold of that left wrist with the right hand and reach the left arm over to the right side. Inhale back through center. Switch it out. Left hand grabs the right wrist and reach the right arm over to the left. And inhale back through center. Let's do a warrior 2. Right toes are going to stay pointing to the top of the mat, but we are going to pivot on this back foot so that the angle of the foot is about 45 degrees. We're going to look down and see that the heel of the front foot, if we drew a straight line back, would reach the arch of the back foot. So for some, this is very traditional actually. Hold up, let's back up. So not for some, but the traditional stance for warriors, for triangle, for whatever, when the feet are like this, is going to be heel and arch. But for some, that's not quite right. So heel to heel will also work. If you look down and you have right heel, draw a line back to the left heel, that will work as well. I personally prefer the more traditional method, but that's because when I was doing yoga, when I started yoga, there was no questions asked. You just did as you were told, and alignment was alignment no matter what, and there was only one alignment. So I am still very caught up in traditional ways more often than not from years and years of practice. We're going to call it habit. Let's bend that right knee and sink those hips down. So now sometimes what will happen is we'll forget about this back foot, but what I want you to do is push the energy out through that back edge of the back foot. That right knee is going to be directly over the right ankle. So it's not going to be caving in inside the ankle. It's not going to be caving out to where we're on that outer edge of the foot, but that foot is going to be nice and flat, and the knee will be directly above the ankle. Now, second thing we want to make sure of is that these shoulders are not leaning forward. This is just going to put way too much stress in this hip flexor, in the knee, and in all sorts of places. So pull those shoulders back so that they're directly over the hips. Open the arms out, palms down. Drishti or gaze goes over the right fingertips. Take a big inhale. Take a full exhale, sink a little deeper. Use the strength of the leg to come out. Reach those arms up. Beautiful. Let's pivot that front foot to a 45. The left foot straight back behind us. So again, check in. Heel arch alignment or heel alignment. Bend into the left knee. Check out that knee. Make sure that it is directly over the knee, or directly over knee over knee. Knee over ankle, not inside the ankle, not outside the ankle. Now, shoulders are not in any way leaning forward. Again, too much stress here, everywhere really. So pull those shoulders back, shoulders over hips, arms out, palms down. Gaze over those left fingertips. Take a big inhale. Exhale, sink deeper. Take another inhale. Last exhale. And inhale, straighten the legs, lift those arms up. Both toes forward. Hop yourself into big toes touching, and inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands through the heart. One more time, arms up. Hands through the heart. All right, let's do that one more time. Feet about 3 foot width distance. Pivot that right foot so it comes to the front of the mat, towards the front of the mat. It's like facing the front of the mat. Heel arch alignment or heel alignment.
Back foot is 45. Bend that right knee directly over the ankle. Arms out at a T, drishti or gaze to the front of that right finger. It's usually the middle finger. Shoulders down, shoulders over the hips. Take a big inhale. As you exhale, sink deeper. One more time, inhale. As you exhale just a little deeper, take it to where you can. And then inhale, arms up, leg straightens, pivot right foot 45, left foot to the top of the mat. Arms out at T, bend left knee, Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Weight through the outer edge of that right foot, gaze over the left fingertips and take an inhale. Exhale, sink. Inhale. Exhale, sink. And inhale, straighten. Arms up, toes point to the top of the mat, and hop yourself to big toes touch. Beautiful. Go ahead and roll out those shoulders, roll out the neck, smile, and let's go for Vrksasana, tree pose. You may want to find something steady, a chair, a wall, a table, whatever works for you. Sometimes even a little plant can offer yourself a little more balance than you would ever imagine. I know that sounds silly, but think about when you have just a finger touching something and you're trying to balance, and somehow just that one little finger on something will help you keep that balance. It's just like, I don't know, connection, I think, honestly, is what it is. All right, sidetracked. All right, let's bring our weight into our left foot. So spread all 10 toes. I want those toes to be nice and wide here. And then place the weight on your big toe mound, little toe mound, and directly center of your heel. So try to find that. Lift up onto the right tiptoes. Bring the foot to the ankle. This might be enough. Maybe you grab a hold of your little tree or whatever it is you're using, right? Bring it up to the calf. This might be enough. Don't bring it to the knee. If you want to go higher, we're going to skip the knee and we're going to bring it either mid-thigh or heel up toward the pelvis. Now, really key information here. Push the inner thigh of the left leg into the right foot as much as the right foot is pushing into the left thigh. This is going to help you tremendously. Try to open up that right knee so that the right knee is pointing to the top of the mat, hands to the heart, or again, maybe we're using a little helper, or maybe the hands are going to go all the way overhead, Vrksasana, tree pose. Breathe here. Bring those hands down. And let's remove the right foot as gracefully as we can. Shake out that left foot. Shake, shake, shake. All right, spread all 5 toes on that right foot. Again, we're gonna try and find those points, the big ball mound, little ball mound, and directly at the center of the heel. Come to the left tiptoes. Maybe the sole of the foot comes to the ankle, could be enough. Maybe the calf, maybe we skip over that knee and we bring it anywhere from all the way up to the pelvis and between the knee. Open up that left knee so that the left knee is pointing towards the top or the back of the mat. Hands either to the heart or continuing to use your support system. Maybe the hands overhead. And we're breathing here. Equal pressure between the thigh and the foot. And this is going to help tremendously to keep that foot in place so that you don't need necessarily skin-to-skin contact for the friction, but even on a slippery surface, you can maintain this shape. Exhale those hands down. And then with as much grace as possible, left foot down to the mat and shake out that right foot. Excellent. Let's go ahead and come to the top of the mat. Feet about as wide as the mat.
And again, you may need some blocks here. So we'll start with a block. We're going to go into Malasana or Yogi Squat. Start to sink those hips down. Maybe set that block up here. If you're using the block, we're going to bring those elbows inside the knees and continue to work those knees open for a little more space in the hips. Maybe you find that that's just a bit too much, and so you lower the block, taking yourself into a deeper squat. Maybe that's still too much and you just need no block. Elbows inside those knees and hands to the heart. Breathe here. Breathe deep into the hip flexors, deep into the pelvic floor, all the way up into the crown of the head. And in whatever way is suitable for you, you're going to make your way down to the mat into a seated shape. So maybe you just plop down, or you have to remove the block, or whatever works for you. Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose. Bring the soles of the feet together. Peace fingers and thumbs wrap around that big toe, both big toes. We sit up nice and straight, nice and tall here. And then pull up on those big toes just a little bit, not so much that you're going to rip them off. And then start to flap those knees up and down. Big breath into the heart. Full exhale. 2 more. Last one. All right. Let's go ahead and extend these legs out for a seated wide leg forward fold. So here, when you're in a seated position and you're trying to fold forward, often, if you have those tight hamstrings, it helps tremendously to elevate those hips. So you might want to take a block and sit up on the block, or take your pillow and elevate the hips up to offer a little bit more freedom in the hamstrings and the back of the knees. If you're like, no, we're going for it, that's cool, let's do it. Let's sit up nice and tall. You still may want a block for in front of you so that you can place your hands here as you start to move forward. Key thing here, as you're going to move forward, that I want you to pay attention to. A lot of the times when we start to move forward, those toes start to follow us. And so we start to get this forward movement, not just with the torso, but with the toes as well. And so this creates this nice, it feels good, right? But it's an inner rotation of those thighs. What I would prefer is for those toes to stay as much up to the sky as possible, meaning we're, with the strength of the legs, externally rotating those thighs back as we come forward. Now, they may not be straight up to the sky. That's okay, but keep trying, keep working at it. And then when you move forward, I want you to move forward with a nice flat spine until you come to your point of threshold, which means you come to your point that you can't go any further. And so this is where the blocks can come in handy. If we just go here, that's beautiful. You have somewhere to work with. If you go here, that's beautiful. You have somewhere to work with. If you go all the way down, that's beautiful. We still have places to work with. So take it to your level, your practice. And that's what's so amazing about the asana practice and the yoga practice all around, is that it truly is tailored for the individual. It is not a one-size-fits-all. It is a one-size-fits-all. Meaning that you can jump in, having never done yoga a day in your life, and you can find something that works for you. Isn't that wonderful? All right, inhale, rise back up. Let's bring those feet together. You may not do it as fast as I did. Maybe you walk them nice and slow together. And let's go ahead and lie down on the mat. This is where you may want a strap. So we're going to take this all the way down to our back. Right leg will extend out in front of us, flat against the mat. And we're going to take the left leg up to the sky with that heel pointing up. Now, if you have a strap, you'll wrap the strap across the top or the bottom of the foot. And you'll hold the strap here like this, knee straight, working those toes towards the forehead. If you do not have a strap, we gotcha. We're going to grab behind the hamstring. And we're going to continue to work that leg towards straight, the knee towards straight. So you may actually even want to grab a hold of your pants, and your leg may be here or here, but leg is straight, heel is pushing out. And you're working that leg closer and closer towards the upper body until someday maybe you grab the calf, maybe you grab the heel, the foot. Now, key notes here is that those shoulders, wherever we have a hold of, the shoulders stay flat on the mat. So what we don't want to see is, oh my gosh, I want to grab my heel so bad that I'm going to lift these shoulders up and look, now I can grab my heel. Okay? And probably bent knee if this is the case, but I don't know. No, instead, those shoulders are very passive. Foot is very active. So note the parts of the body that need the passiveness and the activeness. Leg is active. Calves are turned on. Hamstrings are turned on. Quadriceps are turned on, hugging muscle to bone. What is not turned on are those shoulders, the neck. The hands are slightly, right, because they're holding on to something, so they're gripping. But they're not like gripping so much that you're creating hand cramps. Let's see, one more breath here. We've been here for a minute. And now we're going to take this down into half happy baby. So even if you have the strap, you can just take it into the left hand, or take that left hand to the inner left foot and bend that left knee down towards the mat off the side of the body. So at the side of the rib cage, knee starts to drip down towards the mat. If the right hip starts to come up because you're trying to get that knee down to the mat, we may have went a little too far. So let's push that hip back down towards the mat. Gaze up at the sky or at the ceiling. And then let's release this down into a bent knee. Grab a hold of the shin with the right hand. Weave that left arm back out of the inner thigh and around the outer thigh so that you can hug your knee into your chest here. These are my favorite. Literally, the moment we go down to our supine poses, I'm kind of like, we're in heaven now. I love it for hamstring work because you can't compromise in the spine to get the work in the hamstrings done. So what I mean by that is that when we're in a forward fold and we're seated or standing, a lot of us will arch through the spine in order to get more depth. And I am quotation marking that. Whereas here in our supine position, we don't have that opportunity. The spine maintains its flat state as the hamstrings are demanded to open up. You may play around with that a little bit on your own time. Let's go ahead and grab that left knee with the right hand and pull the left knee across the body so that the knee starts to drop down to the right side of the room. Keep the left shoulder intact with the mat. You can gaze towards the left to get this twist up into the cervical spine or the part of the neck area. And if you have difficulties with twists, I don't want you to go very deep. And so this is where the bolster or the block can come in handy. You could actually stack blocks up here so that that knee doesn't even come close to the earth. You could put your bolster here. You can, if you have a nice twist practice, you can bring that knee down towards the mat as deeply as you would like. Just make sure that that left shoulder stays on the ground. All right, bring it back up through center. Excellent. One more time, left foot up towards the sky just to straighten out that leg, maybe give it a little bit of a wiggle, a little bit of a shake, and then left leg is going to come down to the mat. Right leg up to the sky. And again, here we're going to have our strap either over top of the bottom of the foot. We have no strap. We're going to grab a hold of that hamstring. The foot is active, so we're pushing that heel up more than we're pushing the toes up, okay? Foot active. Maybe, because we want to keep that knee nice and straight, you take a hold of your pants and your leg is more here at more of a obtuse sort of an angle than it is at a 90-degree angle, and especially acute. Someday or today, your hands may walk to the calves. Maybe they walk to the back of the heel, the foot, but those shoulders stay nice and easy. Passive on the mat. No tension in the neck, no tension in the shoulders. I always say that if we're going to show up to our practice and we've already set aside the time, why wouldn't we maintain integrity around the shapes, right? Or around the strength of the pose. So remember to keep that foot active. Even if you're like, dang, my hamstrings are so tight, right? And I can get so much deeper if I don't keep the foot active. But really, are we really holding integrity with ourselves at that point? So keep everything nice and active where it needs to be active. And really passive where it needs to be passive, and indulge in that. Let's take this into half happy baby. So maybe you have the strap and you take it into your right hand, or you take the right hand to the inner foot, and we start to bend that right knee alongside the rib cage here. It's so important that we listen to the body and the little sensations that arise, or the loud sensations that arise, especially during practice. And when we learn to listen to the body during our practice, we learn to listen to the body at all times, even when we're in the middle of traffic, or we've been standing at our desk a little too long, or maybe we're about to do one more set a little bit heavier, and our bodies are saying, let's not do that, right? And when we learn to listen to our bodies in this way, we learn longevity for the body. Let's go ahead and bend that right knee all the way so the heel comes down. Grab a hold of that right knee with the left hand. Weave that right arm out from in between the arm and the thigh. And let's hug this knee into our chest. We also learn when we learn to listen to the body. We learn when our bodies are not compatible with certain things. Foods, drinks, people. Yeah. I truly believe that the language of the body has the most overlooked intelligence, or maybe not even overlooked, but it's definitely taken for granted by a lot of people. Take that right knee into the left hand, and let's go ahead and glide the knee across the body so that it starts to drop down to the left side of the room now. That right shoulder stays pinned to the mat, and maybe we drop that knee down onto some blocks or a bolster. Maybe we keep the knee pretty high to alleviate the twist some. You can gaze over at the right fingertips. And let the breath do the rest of the work from here. On your next inhale, bring it back through center.
And one more time, straighten that right leg up to the sky, push it out through the heel, bend the knee, straighten, bend. Last time, straighten, bend. And now for the end of class today, we're going to do a supported heart opener. So take your blocks and use one for the head and one right underneath the shoulder blades. If you have a bolster, this might not work for me. I've never tried this, but I don't have a bolster. But if you have a bolster, you can place the bolster on top of these blocks, and it's going to make this like 10,000 times more delightful than hard blocks pressing into your back. So this block that goes below the shoulder blades, I want you to place it across the shoulder blades. Instead of, well, below them, but across the spine. Instead of the lengthways of the spine. I find that when we do it lengthways with the spine, it's 1,000 times less comfortable. So set this up. We're going to scoot your bums back towards the block. Scoot the block a little closer. And I start to come down onto the forearms until you feel yourself hit the block. Now your block may not be on the medium height. It might be on the low height. And that's okay. We're going to start to lower it down. Adjust the block as necessary until that top of the block comes to the bottom of your shoulder blades. Let yourself drape over the block, reach back for the second block, and place it there for the head. I like the different heights, the head being a little higher, but you may like the head at the same level. You may even like it lower or not even supported at all. Bring the feet into Baddha Konasana legs. That means that the soles of the feet will come together, the knees will drop down towards the earth. The arms will come down by your side. And you're going to allow yourself to drip, 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 drip down over the blocks. Like chocolate slowly starting to melt over strawberries, and the strawberry is the block and you are the chocolate, and it's all getting super sticky and covered like the most delicious Valentine treat, which is what I did with my kids yesterday, is strawberry chocolates, or dipped strawberries in chocolate. And it was quite the experience of mess and sticky and deliciousness. And I think we're all kind of like that. We're messy, we're sticky, but damn, we are so delicious. Let yourself fully go here. And you can stay here as long as you like, but I am going to talk you out of this so that you know how to get out of this sticky, messy mess we've made. But stay for as long as you would like as you let go of your awareness around the breath, around your to-do list, around the tasks, the past, the future, and just be present here and now. And when you're ready, you're going to push down into your elbows. You're going to lift your head up off of the block first. Walk your elbows back until you can remove that second block. And then maybe press up into the hands. You don't even need to remove the second block. That was kind of unnecessary work, but that's okay. Push up into the hands. Maybe bring yourself to a seated shape, or lay back down on the mat and allow the spine to neutralize. That one is personally my favorite. I usually will do this for quite some time because it's actually a very regular part of my practice, so I can hold that shape for a long while. I want you to be more conscious. If it's part of your practice, hold it for as long as possible. If not, maybe give it a couple minutes, come out. If you still feel good, go back in, play around a little bit. But then at the end, lay flat and feel the spine just lengthen out. Thank you for practicing with me today.